Another radical shooter and the left in denial yet again. Let's check it out. Welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. We start off with yet another Antifa-style radical left-wing shooting. This one in Texas very early this morning, 6:40 a.m. local time. The FBI says 29-year-old Joshua John opened fire on an ICE facility in Dallas in the darkness of the pre-dawn hours. The shooting about 40 minutes before the sun came up. And John actually shot 3 illegal migrants that were riding in an ICE van, killing one, critically injuring 2 others, and then this ridiculous person shot himself in the head after such a failure as his last move to get out of this world. The FBI Director Kash Patel posting this photo of his ammunition on a nearby rooftop anti-ICE. He did not hit one person who works for ICE. He hit 3 migrants. The deranged left, violent yet again, motivated by the insane rhetoric that is coming from their leaders. Here was presidential hopeful Gavin Newsom, the de facto leader of the Democrat Party, just last night on CBS.
Masked men jumping out of unmarked cars, people disappearing, no due process, no oversight, zero accountability happening in the United States of America today. People ask, well, is authoritarianism, you're being hyperbolic? Bull, we're being hyperbolic. If you're a black and brown community, it's here in this country.
7 hours later, gunshots are fired at an ICE facility. This is the way it's going to be now. Authoritarianism, he said. The standard work of immigration enforcement is now authoritarian, according to the Democrat Party, which has groomed an army of psychotic killers, many of whom affiliate themselves with Antifa or something of the like, romanticizing their extremism, their radicalism, by pretending that standard law enforcement and standard immigration measures are somehow fascist now, that those carrying out those measures are Nazis. Aside from anti-ICE written on the ammunition, Laura Loomer uncovering the killer's now wiped Facebook page. His profile picture is a caricature of himself as some kind of an armed communist militant. Yet again, this is what it is. A hammer and sickle right there on the red in the background. A useful idiot who shot the illegal immigrants that he was radicalized to protect, indoctrinated by ridiculous political rhetoric.
ICE is looking more and more like an American Gestapo.
They've seen the kind of fascist ICE Gestapo militias go round up Latino American citizens.
We've got these masked thug cowards kidnapping innocent people and sending them off to be slaves or tortured in other countries.
Secret police who are masked, who are intimidating, who are scaring people.
Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets.
They are coming and kidnapping and disappearing people on the streets of the United States.
Can't say enough how irresponsible it is of these people to talk like this about standard immigration enforcement that was bipartisan a very short time ago. And the media is doing its part as well, as this country attempts to go full open border, or at least part of the country does. This week, NBC ginned up a lot of fury among leftists with a headline alleging that masked ICE agents held a little autistic girl, a little 5-year-old autistic migrant girl, outside of her home to pressure her father to surrender. The story was absolutely asinine. NBC withholding that the father had been arrested for domestic abuse and strangulation, and NBC's tone of the story suggested that ICE agents had somehow kidnapped this girl and then held her and used her as bait, when in reality, the man abandoned his daughter in the parking lot of his apartment complex when he ran inside to hide from ICE, leaving his little girl outside in the car, and the agents just took her out of the car. Those are the lies told every single day about what's happening in this country as they try to remove the 20 million people that Joe Biden invited into your country. Those are the stories that lead to the rage. Those are the stories that now lead to bullets.
Just yesterday, NBC News, maybe the worst of all the fake news, you know what they said? That immigration enforcement had detained a 5-year-old autistic girl in order to get to that girl's father. Turned out that story was a complete fabrication. It was a complete dishonest lie. But when you go around and lie about our law enforcement and you tell them that they're mistreating 5-year-old girls, what do you think is going to happen?
What do you think is going to happen? It's pretty simple. Democrats, the American left, have decided they no longer want this country to enforce basic, decent federal immigration laws. They've just made that decision. They want a borderless society, but Americans don't. That's why they lost so hard in this last election. So they turned up the rhetoric full blast in an attempt to brainwash Americans into their corner, into believing that immigration enforcement is akin to fascism, when again, this was all bipartisan 15 years ago. It would be interesting to ask lefties if these laws were fascist when they enforced them so strictly, which they did. Again, as recently as Obama's second term, Democrats believed that illegal immigrants should be deported from the country. An example, when he was mayor of San Francisco, Gavin Newsom started deporting illegal juveniles who had been charged with felonies, which you could argue is more harsh than what Tom Homan is implementing right now. Most of the people being deported are adults that have been charged with felonies or have committed horrible crimes in the places that they came from. When Newsom's Board of Supervisors, when he ran San Francisco, voted to end that policy, Newsom vetoed it so that he could keep deporting illegal minors. That was 15 years ago. What changed? Well, the Democrat Party changed, which no longer at all represents the American people. Kari Lake joins us now to talk more about this. The rhetoric has basically been a message to the thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of mentally deranged people in that party that it's okay to get violent. And I don't know how many times we're going to see this, but it's starting to happen a lot, right?
It's ramping up. You'd think it would ramp down after we lost Charlie to an assassin's bullet. And you've got mainstream politicians, elected officials, I saw some of them in your clip, who are saying they want to abolish ICE. What do they think abolish means? I mean, I'm trying to ask this nicely. They are creating a powder keg situation with young people who frankly have been brainwashed and gaslighted and told that, you know, being acknowledged and accepted and for merit and doing something good doesn't really matter in this world. It's DEI and LGBTQ. Those kind of things are the only thing that can get you ahead. So don't even try to be excellent at something. And the only way they get attention is to make people who are brainwashing them, their teachers, their peers, who've been brainwashed themselves into thinking that some of these assassins are heroes, is to go out in infamy. Yeah. And it's just sick what is being said. I would think that there would be a bit of calm from some of these politicians and stop attacking hardworking men and women in law enforcement. Stop trying to turn conservatives who have a different political point of view into the enemy. It's very, very dangerous right now. It's
disgusting what we're hearing, and then they just keep going with it. And we're going to get to a point where there's going to be bullets flying all the time. Because there's enough crazy people that take that rhetoric seriously. MSNBC today, immediately after finding out that the bullets had anti-ICE, one bullet had anti-ICE written on it, seemed very desperate to find some kind of a way to both sides this thing. Take a listen to this soundbite.
The writing, the first time we really saw that was Brenton Tarrant in the Christchurch shooting in a mosque in New Zealand. And he was a fierce, white supremacist and neo-Nazi, and wrote all over his weapon and his rounds very hateful information. So to see this coming from, potentially the other side of the political spectrum is a little strange.
It's a little strange because only the right wing does terrible stuff like this, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is crazy. This is the same stuff that got Kimmel in trouble when he tried to blame it and change the facts of the story so that they continue to gaslight the public. And it's very dangerous to take these young minds, which frankly have been through, many of them 18, 25 years of heavy-duty, hardcore brainwashing and indoctrination, and continue to push these hateful messages that a certain segment of the population are evil, bad, Hitler-esque fascists, meaning the patriotic MAGA folks. And no wonder we're seeing this. I mean, it really makes sense when you look at what these young people have been through, what is continuing to be shoved into their heads by a certain segment of the population, i.e. the media, school, culture, that we're seeing this as the result. It's so sad. It's got to stop. And I think President calling for Antifa as domestic terrorist group, an organization, could be the beginning of bringing down these terror cells.
Yeah, it needs to, because there's a lot of really ugly things that are perpetuating this from underneath in this country. We know they're there. Kari Lake, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rob.
Congressman Chip Roy, Texas, joins us now. Happened in his state. Sir, good to have you on. Your reaction to it and what you think led to this, because there's a lot of bullets flying right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, great to be on, Rob. I mean, the fact is we've got a crisis that is the result of what Democrats have created for our country with their lawlessness and their open borders and their countenance and their support of people like George Soros and left-wing Marxist organizations. They're putting criminals on the street that are leaving our borders wide open to terrorists, to gangs, to cartels. The very organizations that are letting the criminals out on the streets are an organized effort that is coordinated not just by George Soros, but as the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund put out last week, the Wren Collective, all of these entities that are purposely putting people on the street, organizations like the Southern Poverty Law Center, Antifa, which President Trump rightly declared a terrorist organization last week. Again, I'm going to wait for the professionals in law enforcement in Texas and with ICE to tell us specifically what the deal is with this individual. But when you have the radical left, the Marxists, that are creating this environment, this anti-ICE environment, anti-law enforcement environment, defund the police, lawlessness at our borders, wide open borders, putting criminals on the streets, then this is what happens. Thank goodness, thank God for the president, for Tom Homan, for Stephen Miller, for ICE, for Border Patrol, for our men and women in blue, for standing on that line despite these Marxists endangering us.
Yeah, I want to ask you this before I let you go. You're on the House Judiciary Committee. Comey, former FBI director, expected to be indicted soon, as a story from MSNBC goes. They've got 6 days for the indictment of the statute of limitations. These are allegations that Comey lied to Congress in 2020 when he claimed he did not authorize the leak of his personal memos relating to meetings with President Trump. The problem for Comey is in 2017 testimony, he admitted that he did authorize those leaks after giving those memos to a friend. That seems pretty clear, but Democrats are screaming that this is a weaponized justice system. And honestly, after they tried to throw the president, the next president, in prison for anything they could think of, maybe it is. And maybe we shouldn't be surprised. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, pretty rich to hear Democrats complaining about quote-unquote weaponized government when they weaponized the government against the American people through the FACE Act, through January 6th, through targeting the president with the lawfare that they did to try to take the president down before he was even elected or taking office. And we know what Comey was up to. We've seen what they were doing to try to undermine the elections, to undermine people's confidence, all the Russia hoax, all of the things that they were doing. So look, I'm a guy that was a former prosecutor. I believe in law and order. I trust Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, the Department of Justice, to go follow the truth wherever it may lead. Yep. And if he broke the law, go indict him. Yep. If he violated statutes, indict him and prosecute him. The American people deserve to know the truth. By the way, I feel the same way about the radical leftists. Pursue truth wherever it may lead. But we know there's a network of leftists trying to undermine our security and our way of life, including, by the way, the march of Islam and Sharia law in Texas and the rest of this country. All of this is trying to undermine Western civilization and our way of life. Yeah. We need to band together to stop it.
Well said. Congressman Chip Roy, we appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rob.
All right. Kimmel returns, plays the victim as Hollywood pretends that left-wing views are being censored. That's next. All right, welcome back. Jimmy Kimmel back on the air last night as Disney ABC caved to the left-wing mob. Kimmel crying in his monologue, offering a half apology, I'll say, and playing the victim, pretending that the country is facing a fascist threat to free speech, even though Jimmy Kimmel's own ideology is ubiquitous across our entire media landscape. Yes, that's just as ridiculous as he is. Here is some of that monologue from last night.
I want to thank the people who don't support my show and what I believe, but support my right to share those beliefs anyway. It takes courage for them to speak out against this administration. Our government cannot be allowed to control what we do and do not say on television. It was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on Instagram on the day he was killed, sending love to his family and asking for compassion, and I meant it, and I still do. For those who think I did point a finger, I get why you're upset. If the situation was reversed, there's a good chance I'd have felt the same way. I don't think the murderer who shot Charlie Kirk represents anyone. This was a sick person.
Doesn't represent anybody. It's funny how careful they are when it's one of their own, right? All of a sudden, there's no assumptions to be made in their world. It was somewhat heartfelt. You know, he got emotional there for a second. I think he did feel sorry about Charlie Kirk dying, but let's not forget what he said about Kirk's assassin, which was really at the heart of this. That got him suspended in the first place. It was a claim so ridiculous at the time, based on what we knew, that it made Jimmy Kimmel sitting there on ABC look like a person that belongs in a padded room. Listen.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
That's the real Kimmel right there. I mean, that's just so twisted. After all the information we had about Kirk's shooter, it was a surreal moment of pure political propaganda to further his personal agenda, shattering what's left of ABC's credibility in the process. There have been cries from all over in unison from the Hollywood idiot parade on this, portraying Kimmel as a hero of free speech. He talked about how brave he must be to talk about this president. That's the easiest thing in the world to do in Hollywood, Jimmy. It's the easiest thing in the world to do is talk trash about Trump. Hilariously overdramatic on all this, and a reminder, the reality is the suppression of speech is coming from the other side. How many conservatives do you ever see anywhere on ABC, CBS, or NBC? Anywhere, in any part of the day. Right there. Here's how the late shows look as they cosplay being victims of censorship. Take a look.
Raising awareness around how Donald Trump is trying to rig the midterm elections and how I fear that we will not have an election in 2028. I really mean that. In the core of my soul, unless we wake up.
We've never had a president that has spent his time thinking about how he's going to use the Department of Justice to go after political enemies. We've never seen this in our country's history.
What was your original take on how this all went down starting last week?
I mean, I thought it was pretty much the most direct infringement by the government on free speech that I've seen in my lifetime.
Without Jimmy Kimmel, there'll be nobody to speak for the American left, except every other freaking show, that is. I mean, what a hilarious moment we're having right now, and Matt Schlapp and Katie Zachariah are here to join us to talk about it. Matt, the fake dramatics of this are probably funnier than anything that those late-night comedy shows have done in years.
So I want to take everybody back to like third grade Constitution class. This has actually nothing to do with the First Amendment. The First Amendment is guaranteed in our Constitution to keep the government, right, from restraining our political speech. Does anybody in this country think that the left doesn't have significant platforms by which to spew their Marxism and their hatred all across the dial, as we used to say when I was a younger man? This is such an absurd thing. So what you have here is you have a company that realized that their host, who's getting worse and worse ratings and isn't really very funny anymore, half the country wouldn't even think about tuning into his show. You had a company saying, this might be a good way to get rid of a host we should probably be getting rid of anyway. And they're so left-wing, Disney is so left-wing, that they even caved to this tiny little niche of people that are still celebrating this atrocious assassination of my friend Charlie Kirk. And you saw this apology. I'm sure you both. It's laughable. That usually when you're giving an apology, you're contrite. The only thing he seems sad about is that he got in trouble.
Yeah, and Katie, we're watching all of this, and it is surreal to see Kimmel playing the victim and this whole lie that there is some kind of suppression of their speech, and this was anything other than a business decision from ABC, or that the president ordered his firing. He ordered his firing, and 5 days later he's on TV.
And it wasn't the president, and now guess what? He's been reinstated. But I want to go back to what was said. DOJ, he's never seen anything like this in the history of the country, that the DOJ would weaponize itself. I'm sorry, what did we just live through Biden's DOJ and what they did to President Trump? And they deplatformed President Trump, and all those talking heads, all those left talking heads, were celebrating the silencing of a sitting president and sat idly by as this happened. And let's be honest, it was the government through Jack Dorsey and Twitter that did this. This wasn't just some unilateral move of Twitter. So this fake outrage, when they finally have consequences for their actions, it's so disturbing. But more importantly, Rob, it's high time that the market dictates that these lefties don't get any more airtime.
Yeah.
And honestly, I cannot wait for that Emmy to come that Colbert just got, to be given to Jimmy Kimmel for his performance last night.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, is there one? Can you think, Matt, of one place on any of the big three broadcast networks where a conservative that is Trump sympathetic could ever speak and give their position? All you're getting from all three of these networks is 24 hours a day. You are getting propaganda to help one side of a two-party system.
So look, I know this personally. So I was a contributor at PBS with Karine Jean-Pierre as my debate partner. You'll be shocked to know that they fired me because they thought I was being too racially antagonistic, but they kept her. I used to be a regular on the Sunday morning shows. I used to be a regular on CNN and MSNBC. And at each controversy in this country, whether it was BLM or whether it was the virus or whether it was the problems with the election, they always found a way to say, you are pushing propaganda and conspiracy, so we can't have you on anymore. And so basically half the country has been canceled on all these platforms. Yep. The only way you get on is if you are someone that usually has my views, but you're now hitting your own side, right, and attacking Trump or attacking something. So then they'll say, oh, we'll have this conservative on. It's annoying. Everybody sees it. These shows are dying. Anything that's new in embracing this idea. Hey, look at this. He just showed all those guests who were on. The Democrats are saying, let's take the heat out of it. Let's find a way to condemn violence. We have to find a way to work together. And then they go on these shows and continue to call us all fascists.
It's bizarre, and it's just comical to watch how up in arms they were over this little moment where they thought that they were the oppressed. Matt Schlapp, Katie Zachariah, good to see you both. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Tom.
Once blue New Jersey is more purple than ever. In 6 weeks, this state chooses a new governor, and they have a hell of a candidate. A Republican could steal the show. The polling is getting very interesting. Jack Ciattarelli is up next. Welcome back. Something very special is happening in New Jersey, a state that could be soon turning red. It was close the last time. We're at it again. Trump-backed Republican Jack Ciattarelli hammering his opponent, the Democrat Mikey Sherrill, on Sunday's New Jersey governor's debate. No question he won that debate. Here he is talking about a controversy involving her stock trading.
In the 7 years that she's been in Congress, she's tripled her net worth. She broke the law. She had to pay fines for violating federal law on stock trades and stock reporting, and the New York Times reports that while you're sitting on the House Armed Services Committee, you were trading defense stocks.
Corrupt. Flashback to when Cheryl was pressed about this same issue on The Breakfast Club. She didn't expect this. She actually tried to attack us, Newsmax, for reporting it. Take a look.
So when Newsmax claims that you made $7 million from stock trades, what are they talking about?
Newsmax is, first of all, a very questionable organization that is paying multiple fines. I'm not sure what they're talking about.
Well, did you make $7 million in stock trades at all? Or?
I haven't. I don't believe I did, but I'd have to go see what that was alluding to.
Bro. Not a worse answer in the world than that. I don't know if I made $7 million. She's running against Jack Ciattarelli. We want to bring Jack in now to talk about this, the actual opponent. She likes to talk about Trump a lot. But, Jack, it's good to see you, sir. You look great in that debate. Tell us how it's going. I know that you've got internal polling, and the New Jersey Globe reporting an internal poll that has you up by a point, which is amazing work in a state of New Jersey.
There are two polls that have us up by a point. Her internal polling has it as a dead heat, Rob. We're right where we need to be with exactly 41 days to go. We're going to win this race.
The debate, I mean, you talk about you're just an Italian guy. Your family goes back a long time in New Jersey. You're just a business guy. You're exactly what people should want out of government, right? Regardless of party. you're the kind of candidate people want. What they don't want is a crooked person that can't remember if she made $7 million off corrupt dealings, right?
Rob, who wouldn't know if their net worth increased by $7 million? And she's talking about fines. If anybody should know anything about fines, it's her. She had to pay fines for breaking federal law on stock trades and stock reporting. And the other thing I just keep coming back to, the New York Times reports that while she was sitting on the House Armed Services Committee, she's trading defense stocks. Now, I got to tell you something. Even if that's not illegal, it doesn't pass the sniff test. People hate it when you use public office to enrich yourself.
Amen to that. You've got a big endorsement. The Fraternal Order of Police in New Jersey, one of the biggest police unions in the state. They didn't endorse in the last election, which was tight. You were really close in that last election. The last time they did endorse, it was to the Democrat. It was to Phil Murphy. What does that backing mean to you?
It means a whole lot because I've said from the very beginning, it's why my lieutenant governor is a county sheriff. We're getting back to law and order in New Jersey. We're getting back to supporting our law enforcement community. The current attorney general has been the most anti-police we've ever had. My opponent has said she's considering reappointing him. And as a congresswoman, she voted yes on getting rid of qualified immunity, which is the bedrock of security to allow our police to go out and do their job.
Yeah.
She's just as anti-police, and that's evidenced by the fact that she's endorsed Mandami, and Mandami has endorsed her.
Yeah, which is terrifying. We watched what happened with Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania went from a blue to a purple to a red state. New Jersey has a lot of similarities to that state, and it seems like it's happening in your state as well. And Jack, we're pushing for you. Thanks for coming on. Good to see you.
Rob, thank you.
All right. All right, with less than a week to go before a potential government shutdown, Trump is now refusing effectively to meet with Democrats, essentially calling a meeting with them pointless, as the Democrats are offering a ridiculous list of demands for their vote to keep the government open. They have a $1.5 trillion wish list, it's being reported, including free health care for illegal aliens. They want to extend Affordable Care Act subsidies, reverse Medicaid cuts that were enacted in the big, beautiful bill, funding transgender surgeries for minors, and plenty more. This is what they're looking for if you want to get their vote on this budget. Chuck Schumer crying about it on MSNBC. Take a listen.
We Democrats definitely want to avert a shutdown. We know how bad it is. And we're asking something very simple, Joe, for the president to sit down and talk with us. You know, he's not the king. He can't just dictate what happened. He said he doesn't need Democrats. Well, then he doesn't know how to count, because there are 60 votes in this Senate that you need to pass this.
Yeah, we just want to talk, and we want to get our way on everything. Hakeem Jeffries tweeting out, Trump always chickens out. The extremists want to shut down the government because they are unwilling to address the Republican health care crisis that is devastating America. All right, Governor Mike Braun, I almost said Senator. Governor Mike Braun of Indiana joins us now. He was a senator before becoming governor, and he was on the Senate Budget Committee. Perfect person to talk to about this. What exactly is happening right now? What are Democrats trying to pull here?
So this is the same old song and dance, and when I went through it, of course, I was on the Budget Committee, which was a useless appendage because we haven't done a darn budget in a long, long time. Even the appropriation process is broken. So Dems are the party where government's their growth business. Look at that $1.5 trillion wish list. We're already overspending by $2 trillion a year. So we're holding the cards on this one. And the party that, you know, we were in that position in the Senate because they were running the show during the Biden administration. And look at all of that mess it created, not to mention inflation. So here, I think Trump does not have the votes because it does take 60 senators, but it won't be the Republican shutdown. It'll be the Schumer shutdown. They're good at being faster-footed than we are, but they can't slip out of this one.
Do you think we're going to get, I mean, is this budget in any way going to be serious about the crisis that we're facing fiscally? I mean, you know, the big, beautiful bill, there was cuts there. I didn't think it went nearly far enough when we have this much conservative power. I don't know how we ever get to the point where we're going to get serious about this without a crisis.
To really do it, and I talked about it often, You'd have some reforms you could put in place, like the no government shutdown bill that guys like me and Senator Johnson, Rick Scott wanted to do. Of course, that's never going to get to first base with the crew on both sides of the aisle. We need to have a convention of the states, ideally, if it gets bad enough, to pass a balanced budget amendment and term limits especially. So that's still trying to approach it from the wrong angle. We need to make sure as Republicans that we're willing to cut some of the things that we like best, because if we don't give it up, you're never going to give the Democrats the opportunity to call their bluff. If we hold the line, will you cut domestic spending? That unholy alliance I've talked about often, we never got there. That's what it would take.
It's terrifying to look at that number as we get close in on $40 trillion in debt in this country. I want to ask you about this before I let you go. You're pushing nuclear to become a massive energy source in this country. This is if they really want clean energy and they're not serious about nuclear, then they're not serious. What are you doing, and how is Indiana, your state, involved?
So everybody is now trying to adapt to the hockey stick spike in demand for energy. It was flat as a pancake just 2-3 years ago. AI and data centers, for instance, Indiana produces 20 gigawatts of electricity. One data center can demand a gigawatt, 5% of your total production. There's no electricity that you can bring on stream other than natural gas. That takes 4 years. In Indiana, we got pipelines. We don't own much. Nuclear does so many things. It's not intermittent. Small modular reactors would be the way you capture submarine aircraft carrier technology. Just scale it up. And you can use the spent fuel from the big nuclear reactors. We want to be first. Whatever state gets that going won't have to do a patchwork theme, but that's 8 to 10 years away. So we're a long ways away from actually doing data centers, actually taking advantage of AI. Whoever gets there first will be in the catbird seat. I'm hoping Indiana does that.
Governor Mike Braun, state of Indiana. Thank you, sir. Good to see you.
Thank you, Rob.
Pregnant leftists are eating Tylenol in defiance of this new warning from Secretary Kennedy. Maybe they should check the company's own social media postings first. That's next. Welcome back. Secretary Kennedy recommends caution in using Tylenol for pregnant women. And what do we see? We see pregnant women out there of one political ideology just responding by downing pills and taking videos of it with their pregnant bellies hanging out. This is how deranged we have become as a society, and maybe they should do a little of their own research before taking too many of those pills. In 2013, Reuters claimed that too much Tylenol in pregnancy could affect development of the child. Reuters today, though, is slamming the HHS warning over this drug, which is a bit strange. Tylenol itself, back in 2017, a tweet that has gone super viral, tweeting out, "We actually don't recommend using any of our products while pregnant." That was 8 years ago. Calley Means is a senior White House on Maha official and joins us now. And good to have you back on, Calley. Tylenol once put out that tweet that they don't recommend this for pregnant women. I don't know if anything about the way they make the drug has changed since then. But what are your thoughts on this?
Let's just back up a little bit. President Trump is rightfully concerned about the dramatic increase in autism. In California, 1 in 20 boys have autism. It's about 1 in 30 on average. This used to be 1 in 5,000, 10,000. This has been a sharp, dramatic increase in a generation, just like all of our chronic diseases for children have increased. He got the entire HHS in a room, the NIH, the FDA, Secretary Kennedy, CMS. He said, let's figure this out. And the NIH is investing $50 million in research. The FDA is looking at therapeutics. And one of the first things they found is this information on Tylenol. I mean, other countries have much sterner warnings. Harvard just came out with a study. Harvard, and the dean of the public health school of Harvard, said that he thinks there's a clear causal link. The Harvard study, which is very recent, was a meta-analysis of every study that's been conducted on this link. They said there's a clear link. And the mantra from HHS, despite many people saying we're going to confuse people or scare mothers, moms are scared right now about why so much autism is happening. And the mantra, and what was said at this press conference right here, is we're going to give Americans the truth when we get it. It's not a blanket ban. It's a patient information that mom should know that there is evidence of a link. And they also released a new therapeutic, a promising therapeutic with a folate deficiency and a mechanism there. We're going to keep doing this. And again, this is what moms are clamoring for. It's not confusing to give people more information. It's confusing why people are getting so sick.
The other big, I guess, possibility here is these vaccines when the kids are really small. A lot of vaccines. Obviously, the vaccine schedule has increased dramatically. They want to pull apart the MMRV vaccine one at a time. Not fill these kids up with a lot of vaccines at a very young age. That to me just makes sense, and it made even more sense when I heard that in other countries they already do this, and yet that's being called anti-vax. Your thoughts?
In some Scandinavian countries, they have half as many recommended shots as they do in the United States. There's radically different schedules between different countries. I'd encourage every single person watching to watch the press conference with President Trump and Secretary Kennedy. It was really much more than any one announcement. It was a stake in the ground that no topic is off limits. No topic is taboo. We have a crisis. The medical system has rightfully lost trust, not because of Secretary Kennedy, but because of what happened during COVID, and because they're telling us everything is fine when everyone's so sick. President Trump talked about spacing out vaccines. He talked, very importantly, that he wants to unleash the NIH to study everything, to turn over every stone. Rob, that's called science. And that's what this administration is bringing back. I think it was a very important moment of a culture shift in American medicine where we're actually going to ask fearless questions again.
And when was, if they hadn't gotten in, if Kennedy hadn't gotten in, when the hell was anybody going to actually start asking these questions and getting serious about it? Was it going to be 1 in 5 kids? Was it going to be like, Russian roulette, having children in this country?
I think a lot of voters felt like November 2024 on Election Day was one of the most important days in American history. And for me, and I think a lot of Maha moms, it was because we feel there's something existential happening. I can tell you, Rob, from being at HHS, there is a deep state that is real, and there is a medical deep state that is trying to convince Americans that it's normalized to be sick and really batter and demean anyone who's asking a question in the face of such terrible outcomes. I think that President Trump's election and this Maha coalition with Secretary Kennedy is existential for the country. I think we all feel that. Yeah. I just encourage everyone watching to do your own research, ask your doctors questions, have an abundance of caution, especially when it comes to kids, and continue to support Secretary Kennedy and President Trump, who are fighting for truth.
And don't pound acetaminophen and videotape yourself thinking that that's some kind of a known, because you look like an absolute lunatic. Calley Means, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob.
What happened to the daughter of 2 of Hollywood's most beautiful stars?
It is neglect of the highest order to look children in the eyes and say, we knew how to protect you, and we didn't do it.
Back time now for news from the left. Illinois' Governor J.B. Pritzker, desperate to paint a picture of his prized capital city as some kind of beautiful success story and not a violent dump that wealthy residents have been fleeing since 2020. That is the city of Chicago, of course. Pritzker on a walk, claiming to be on the south side of Chicago. Now, we're not exactly sure how far south or what part of south side of Chicago he was in. At about possibly, though, the safest time that he could have done it, which is around dawn, right? About 6, 7 in the morning when all the bad guys have finally gone to bed. Take a look.
Here on the south side, early morning, lots of runners coming by. Walking around here early morning on the South Lakefront Trail, south side. Just gorgeous. Look at that overpass. Of course, facilities for everybody and a great lakefront. Good morning.
Okay, JP. Okay. He doesn't think people understand what he's doing, what he's trying to accomplish there. Pretty obvious. Go there around 1 o'clock in the morning. Go to some of the other neighborhoods, JB. You're kind of cherry picking, aren't you? Just a little bit. Next up, the daughter of actors Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner apparently is a total COVID freak and using her connections to get a perch at the UN to scream her fear and nonsense, demanding mask mandates return. Take a listen.
After only 5 years, long COVID has surpassed asthma as the most common chronic illness in children. I am terrified for the children who do not or soon will not know a world without debilitating pain and exhaustion. It is neglect of the highest order to look children in the eyes and say, we knew how to protect you, and we didn't do it. We have access to a technology to prevent airborne disease, something that millions of our ancestors and millions of people around the world today would kill for. And we refuse to use it.
She's been wearing that mask for a long time. That's the daughter of two beautiful movie stars, and that is how she's decided, that's the road she's decided to go down. Sad. Next up, London's Muslim mayor destroying his city's culture and then slamming the president after Trump called out how terrible he's been.
People are wondering what it is about this Muslim mayor who leads a liberal, multicultural, progressive, successful city that means I appear to be living rent-free inside Donald Trump's head. I think President Trump has shown he is racist, he is sexist, he is misogynistic, and he's Islamophobic.
Yeah, does that on a bus because he's, how many security guards did he have around him? Yeah, he's so accessible, right? A lovely, liberal, progressive, multicultural London where a woman is raped every a woman is raped every hour now in London. A woman is raped every single hour in London, and a place where you can't even wear a Rolex when you go shopping in Soho because a migrant gang will come up and rip it right off your wrist. That's the success story that Sadiq Khan is talking about. And finally, it doesn't get any better than this. A group of 100-plus former ABC News journalists have sent a letter to Disney CEO Bob Iger urging him to make a concerted effort to defend free speech and press freedom against political intimidation. CNN getting a copy of the letter saying Disney has both the responsibility and the opportunity to lead by standing firmly against capitulation and in defense of Democrat values. Now, think about this for a second. Every single thing that ABC puts out is propaganda for one side of the political aisle, right? And they have to send a letter to protect what? The 24th hour of the day from not potentially becoming conservative? These former journalists at ABC. Good stuff. All right, coming up here after the break, a hysterical addition to Trump's new presidential Walk of Fame. And finally tonight, Trump's newest project at the White House is this presidential Walk of Fame. Take a look. You got Clinton. There's Bush 2 right there. There's Obama. You got the first presidential shot, the first presidential picture, and then look at what they did to Joe Biden. The auto pen. And then you have Trump's second shot, which is actually, I think the mug shot, actually. Look at Biden's picture. They've got a sense of humor at the White House. We can give them that. Infinity's next. We'll see you tomorrow. Everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmitt tonight on Newsmax.